Let's talk about an uncomfortable truth that both Riley Leonard and Will Howard have led us to, how it's going to affect the national championship and really how it's going to affect the future of college football. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching the #1 college football show, welcome. Please hit the subscribe button. It costs you nothing. Ring the bell if you would like to see each one of these segments as they appear in real time. Be one of the first to get an opinion out there and frankly join this Rockets conversation that we have in the comments below. Routinely, there's 200-300 comments. Some of those are me. I try to acknowledge everybody who has something to say, and sometimes, we can get into it. We'll see. Maybe you got a take on this. Do you think that the future of college football is going to revolve around quarterbacks like Riley Leonard and Will Howard? And the way that I'm choosing to define this is not just the transfer quarterback, but the grad transfer quarterback, the quarterback that has a substantial amount of starting experience at the Power 4 level, going to a program that is a quarterback away. We're going to start hearing people say that more and more often in college football because that's usually what it takes. You have assembled a really great roster and you need a quarterback who might not be the best quarterback in the sport, but one that is capable of managing, game manager, or playmaking inside of the offense and defense and overall culture of your program. And this is an example of both Notre Dame and Ohio State hitting on what they needed to put themselves in a position to play for a national championship. So, for instance, last year, Notre Dame tried to give the whole game to Sam Hartman, being we're going to throw the ball, we're going to throw it all down the field, we're going to try to take advantage of the ACC's all-time leader in passing touchdowns after starting for years at Wake Forest. Didn't go according to plan. Ended up having a Steve Angeli have to be your starter in the Sun Bowl. And then going into this one, you're going to get Riley Leonard, who was coming off an injury, but had shown that he could outperform the car, to use F1 parlance, at Duke with Mike Elko and go lead that team to what were some really great wins, a top 25 ranking. You combine Riley Leonard's ability to make plays with the ball with an offensive coordinator in Mike Denbrock, who advocated for Jaden Daniels to let it loose and saw that dude win a Heisman Trophy as a 3,800-yard passer, 1,100-yard rusher. And you build an offense, right? Now, Leonard is not the passer that Jaden Daniels is. He's not even the passer that Will Howard is, but he is effective in the run game. And when you have the extra man, right, the 11th man running the football, you can do a lot more things. Notably, get Jeremiah Love a little bit more loose, Jadarian Price a little bit more loose, and then use Aeneas Williams to take out what we think is, perhaps a lapse in the defense. Matter of fact, talk a little bit about Aeneas Williams and what that could mean for Ohio State and Notre Dame heading into Monday's national championship game. So you get a guy who has been an 800-yard rusher, has a chance to go over 1,000 yards. He has a really great game running the ball against Ohio State on Monday. But you also get Will Howard, who he's basically the same sort of player at Kansas State, but he's developed into a really great passer the last couple of years at Kansas State, and particularly this season when Chip Kelly and Ryan Day have allowed him to throw the ball all over the yard. And Will Howard has been kind of a contentious figure at Ohio State. I have said he doesn't need to do anything at all at Ohio State. He just needs to be Craig Krenzel. And Craig Krenzel, no shade, wasn't that great a quarterback. He was effective in the run game, but he was not the guy that needed to go win you the football games. That was other people, right? I look at Will Howard, and you see Emeka Buka, you see Jeremiah Smith, you see Carnell Tate, you see Quinshon Judkins, you see Travion Henderson. Those are your playmakers, and then he can go get you hard yards when you got to have them, like he did on that 4th and short against Texas and broke off and got tripped up by the ghost of Daniel Jones as he's trying to make it to the end zone. Both of those guys are grad transfers to their programs. Both of the guys had been starting quarterbacks at Power 4 programs, and both of those guys had shown that they could outperform the car. They also cost you about $1 million, $1.5 million in name, image, and likeness. And this is also with dudes that have deals with Roback and deals with Clips, and Great Clips, and Stanley, and New Era, and EA Sports College Football 25, to name just a few. To say nothing how robust the name, image, and likeness collectives are at Ohio State and Notre Dame. You can get almost anything if you want it, because we're tapping into a name, image, and likeness is not necessarily, I think, a dark side of college football. I think it's a side of college football that's always been there. It's called boosters. What makes our sport so special in some ways is I use Dallas Cowboys as an example here because I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan. I have to live with what Jerry Jones decides to do because he quite literally owns the team. It's his. He can do with it what he wants within the bounds of the rules as set aside by the NFL and the collective bargaining agreement. He will hire the head coach. He will hire a general manager or not. Make himself the general manager. In many ways, he's like Bob Guccione, who was the publisher at Pit House magazine. When they were in their heyday, Bob took all the photos because, and I quote, "That's the best job. Why would I give away the best job?" The best job in NFL, as far as I'm concerned, especially for the Dallas Cowboys, is being the general manager, meaning you get to pick the head coach and you get to pick the players, and everybody else has got to deal with it, depending on who you want to side within reason. That's what Jerry Jones has been doing for the better part of 30 years. Matter of fact, the guy that was better at him than Jimmy Johnson, he moved on from, rather than, keep that guy on and keep winning championships, because it was more important to Jerry Jones that he gets to have the fun job than it is that the Dallas Cowboys are good. This is why we've had these large discussions about Deion Sanders perhaps being a head coach at the Dallas Cowboys, because with Jerry Jones, anything's possible. In college football, we have boosters that can say, I give this money for this. I'm paying this player for that. We put our names on things. We can have a direct effect on winning and losing just by an infusion of cash to the right people who know what to do with that money, how to invest it. I mean, Pony Express is a great example. It's at Southern Methodist, who was not heard or talked about until such time as Eric Dickerson drove that Trans Am back up to Dallas from at Texas A&M, right? That's what happened. Talking about Bill Yeoman, who used to hand out the envelopes full of cash to his players himself at the University of Houston. The money, the bag man was, legend, but also very real. What's it going to take? Your mama need a house, you need a car. Now we're just making the bad man one that you got to pay taxes. That's it. They give you the bag, pay taxes on the bag, you go spend your money. As we're approaching this point where we're going to have probably a 5-for-5 rule come through, where we might see college football players have 5 years to play 5 years, even though it traditionally is supposed to take 4 years to get an undergraduate degree. Those folks that have been acquainted with continuing education or night school or just needing to take a gap year understand it ain't going to go 4 years. And for some folks, you don't need 4 years to graduate from college, especially if you play football, because you're going to take summer classes because you're going to be on campus working out. And you can take up to 12 hours during the summer course in most institutions, which is basically an entire semester. You do 2 of those, that's a full year. You do 2 summers, you do 2 full years, you can graduate in 3 years. It's not that hard. You can go get your master's degree in that 5 years. You can do a lot, is what I'm saying. I think you're going to see Riley Leonard and Will Howard do this. But as I'm talking about these guys, I also want you to bear in mind, Riley Leonard and Will Howard are transfer quarterbacks, which means that one of those is going to lead somebody to a national championship. Now, do the math. When you're talking about who wins the national championship in the college football playoff era since the age of the transfer portal in 2018 and then immediate eligibility coming not too long after that, you're talking about transfer quarterbacks in Stetson Bennett. I know he went to JUCO, came back to Georgia after walking on, but transfer quarterback, winning national championship 2021, 2022. Okay. 2020, Mac Jones, okay, he didn't transfer. 2019, Joe Burrow, he did transfer, right? Then 2021, J.J. McCarthy is entering the fray, but they don't win the national championship. That's Georgia. 2022 is Georgia. 2023, J.J. McCarthy's the only guy in the last 5 years outside of Mac Jones, right? So Mac Jones and J.J. McCarthy, the only guys that start and stop at the same place. You're going to see your team go get a player. This is why Cam Ward was getting paid what he got paid. This is why Carson Beck is getting $3 million. John Mateer is getting $3 million. Darren Mintz is getting $4 million annually, right, to go from Tulane to Duke. It's going to keep going this way. I will be very curious to see what the numbers look like and why someone like Quinn Ewers, for instance, didn't just go to UNC and make a little bit more money, and how that is being talked about. People are talking about Quinn Ewers is doing the right thing by Texas by going to the NFL draft as opposed to going to the transfer portal and coming out somewhere else where he could compete against Texas. I don't love my university that enough to give up on basically a $2 million payday if we're just being kind about it, when I'm probably going to make less than that if I'm drafted in the second round of the NFL draft. I'm just not going to do that. You're saying that he's being greedy. I'm saying, no, he's doing good business. And we like good business in the United States of America because we're a business economy. That's what you're going to see. You're going to see more quarterbacks making more business decisions, going to contenders right away, and contenders making themselves known. It's the way of the world.